Good morning, everybody, and hello to all of you out there in wonderful digital world, estate agent world. It's Friday here, and I am delighted we have got a international audience here today from places as far afield as Worcester, Middlesbrough, Newcastle, and Melbourne. Andrew, I know you're in the southeast, but Kent's as far as I can sort of, I go. So, which neck of the woods are you again?
We're East Kent. We're nearer France than we are in London.
We voted out, Andrew. Don't start that one out. Let's leave that. Okay, we're here with a tremendous. Thank you very much for making it here today, guys. It's here today to talk about Gavl, the virtual viewing experts, and I am really, really keen. I love these ones because actually this is a time where I'll say to Joel, you have to zip it, and we're going to let the clients do the talking here. And we're really keen to understand how you've actually been using it, what attracted you to the proposition, and hopefully people out there in web worlds will get some real value in terms of understanding why you've opted for it. Joel, just so you can set the scene, you're joining us from lovely Melbourne in the middle of a summer, which I'm not bitter or resentful about whatsoever. Do you want to just give us just an overview? Obviously, you came over here last year. And obviously you're getting a really good take up here from some really forward-thinking agents. Just give us a brief overview of what Gavl's about.
Well, thanks, Simon. Mid last year, Matt Nicholls reached out to me. He obviously saw the viewing platform was taking off in Australia and thought this is something that we need in the UK. And I guess chatting to Matt and other members of the industry, what I probably learned was the biggest expense for an agency is the amount of staffing hours that are spent on processing inquiry up front, and then also how many staffing hours are spent on viewings. And generally that's with people who are not going to be buying or renting the property. So there's an underlying issue there in terms of the largest expense is spent on, I guess, people that aren't going to transact. So I think by the main facet of the Gavl Live platform is allowing agents or freeing agents up in terms of their time spent on the inquiry up front, which I think will flush out as the conversation gets going, and also the amount of viewings that are going to be held. And if you save time, well, you save money. And I think the guys have got a couple of good sort of case studies where their fixed expenses have reduced by upwards of 10%, and they've increased their market share at the same time. So it's pretty cool.
Don't you do the hard sell, Joel. Let your clients do it for you. We're very suspicious over here in the UK, Joel.
Yeah,
we like to be finesse.
You said I have 1 minute, so I've done my best. I'll zip it now.
Excellent. Well, no, I think thank you very much for giving us an intro. Quite often I do forget to give context and have to kind of wrap it up after an hour and then explain what you do. So thank you for that. Look, what would be useful, guys, when I introduce each of you as we go around, just obviously pretend that the audience don't know you. Just introduce yourselves, your business, give an idea of the size of the business and which part of the country. And I think it's always useful to understand that context. Because you're a kerfuffle groupie, Matt, I will start with you.
Thank you very much. Matt Nicholls. I'm based in Worcestershire. We have 3 branches in the Midlands, trading for 11 years. We do sales, lettings, land and new homes, design and marketing, a few other bits and pieces. So as Joel said, I got in touch with him because we were coming out of the first lockdown. I was a bit concerned about how things were going to pan out and how things were looking in terms of safety for staff doing viewings. And also there was a definite kind of feeling that it was going to get busy and very, very quickly busy because we had a lot of interest registers setting up on new instructions. And I was just kind of thinking of how we could get lots of people to see it without physically showing them around in the first instance. And that is exactly what Gavl delivered on for us. The beauty of how it's kind of turned into, a nice experience for an applicant or a nice experience for a vendor to have the safety has it's blossomed into those items. But really for me at the beginning and the first weekend that I did my live streams, I took the bull by the horns and did the first 3 in the UK myself. It was epic. It was so busy, lots of communication, lots of conversations going on. Offer came in on the first live stream I did straight after I came off the I stopped the live stream and a phone call came in with an offer. And, you just thought, yeah, in fact, there are going to be people that want to use this. And actually, it's it's developed further. Our lettings team have just revolutionised the way they work now. Our sales team use it regularly on their new instructions, but the lettings team has just completely changed their format. So it has definitely made a difference in our business, and I enjoy it. I think we've got improvements still in the pipeline as well. There's always things that Joel is asking, right, what can we do next? What can we do after that? And that's the thing. If it's making our life easy now, in 6 months' time, it will probably be making another couple of things easier, because there's always that focus on what else can we kind of take out of the workload. So, yeah, it's good.
I would have thought a business flight invite to Australia was got to be top of that list, isn't it?
It's got to be an annual event coming up. I think we started in April, May. So, yeah, I should be released by then. We'll be able to come over.
Simon Whale oversell kerfuffle exclusive, free business class travel to Australia with every Gavl sold today on there. There we are. So there's my Ratner moment, which probably nothing to you, Joel. Anyway, I think that's really useful, Matt. We'll come back to a couple of those points. I'm really, really interested as well, especially on the letting side of things, because of course that's a really fast-moving world anyway, isn't it? Outside of lockdown. So if it's all right with you, we'll come back to that. Andrew, up there in the lovely northeast, do you want to just again give us an overview and how you came to look at Gavl?
Yeah, Andrew Craig, residential sales in the northeast of England. We have 10 branches doing sales, lettings, land and new homes, and auctions. We came across it in November. I can't quite remember how. I know we spoke to Matt shortly after we came across it, because he was the leader in the UK. We just thought it was a no-brainer, because you couldn't get people around houses, and it was safe. That was probably the main driver in the first instance. But since then, we've used it more and more, and we've revolutionised lettings as well. Our standard procedure now is that it goes on Gavl. You don't do physical viewings, and you only do a physical viewings once you've selected a potential tenant. We use it on auction very successfully. We've sold a house at auction from someone that just had a Gavl viewing, bid on it, bought it, and it's gone through. So yeah, it's revolutionised us. It's safe, it's fast. One of my valuers said yesterday, well, at least I haven't got to stand around in snowy houses waiting for people to turn up. So you know, the valuers, that it took a little while to get them started because it's something new.
Of course,
we'd had them doing viewings beforehand. Videos beforehand, but this, you know, was talking live on a video. They were a little bit nervous, but now they love it. They see the benefits. One of them said, "We've got listings on the back of it on sales because the vendors like it. It's a differentiator."
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, we won't go back to doing physical viewings on a lot of stuff until after we've done the live stream.
Perfect. I think that's a really interesting context around it. I think that, again, really interesting. Do you remember when they used to say, rather, it seems ridiculous now, you know, will you ever actually win business with social media? And this feels like one of those moments you just said there, you know, somebody actually has been able to buy the property without physically viewing it. That feels like a crossing the Rubicon kind of moment for me as much as anything. And of course, you know, that extra saving of not having to meet the public. Yeah, I could do this, you lot can't. But that's fantastic. Okay, Andrew, great. We'll come back to that one again and again. Really interesting to hear that Matt was talking about lettings, but you were talking about auctions. So this is genuinely cross departments as well in terms of how it can be used. Richard, just down the road from Andrew. Hi, do you want to just give us an overview?
Yeah, Richard Poole from Michael Poole's. We're a 9-branch network in the Teesside area. Again, residential sales, lettings, auctions. And yeah, Gavl came on our radar again back into last year, really. It was through following Matt on some of his social media links that I saw it. And I think we kind of got in touch with Joel. And initially, the letting side was one area we were looking at to start with. But I think the changes with the market and staffing last year, with lockdown and then furlough, and then we could see the market bubbling once we were allowed to start operating again. It was so busy, rather than bringing everybody back because of the inability to do physical viewings. This was just the perfect answer, really.
Because we were all, weren't we? When we returned in, what was it, May, June? It was, God, is there going to be a market to return to? Yeah. But fantastically, it was red hot. So actually, it became an efficiency argument and debate, didn't it?
Yeah, I think us, like many firms, we had quite a lot of dedicated accompanied viewers. Now these guys were obviously all sat at home on furlough, and the question was, do we bring them all back from furlough to do viewings and fill the diaries and spending all day at one property, or do you look at alternatives? And this was the alternative. And consequently, it's led to a kind of remodeling and restructuring of the way we do viewings completely throughout the firm now, with the dedicated accompanied viewers. Sadly, there have been some casualties, but as a business, it saves money, it saves time, it's safer, and it's just much more efficient. It's much more engaging for the client. And we've just recently taken on a marketing consultant. And when she came in and looked at this, she just thought, this is incredible. You know, why? And we'll come on to the staff being engaged with it, and the staff actually taking it on board. Like we as business owners see things and think these things are incredible. Then getting the buy-in from the staff is sometimes the most difficult thing. And I think that was probably one hurdle we had to overcome.
Because there can be some of the best tech in our heads, can't there? Yeah. And just, you know, that just doesn't translate to people, to the staff who ultimately need to make this work for you as a business.
Yeah, that's it. You've got to have buy-in from the staff, and quite often that is the hardest thing. You can tell people to do things, but I think the only way you can integrate it completely within the business, and Andrew touched on it, is to make it procedure. You know, 'cause until it is a procedure and it's in place, people will find a way not to do it.
Yeah.
And then they'll see the benefit. And once they see the benefit, the buy-in comes, and then it's a win-win for everybody, really.
It's like getting past that awkward stage, isn't it? Change by definition feels a bit awkward to start off with, but then you genuinely start to just get used to it. And then, ironically, it always gets to the stage then, well, you couldn't live without it. That's a thing for me. And I think, you know, as you were saying, I can't remember which one, because my memory is a goldfish, but one he was just talking about there, it's a differentiator as well. Well, I think that's a really interesting point now, because actually some of these technologies, of course, when they become adopted, they become ubiquitous, and it's a bit frustrating then, because you're having to do everything, aren't you? But you haven't actually got a difference. Floor plans being an example, or something like that. What you've got a fantastic stage now, though, is you can really stand out from the crowd, and it is genuinely an instruction winner. I won't say you need one more listing to pay for this, because I do that everywhere else, but and I invented that, by the way, which is why you agents are all so pissed off with us prop tech people. But I think that's a really useful angle, you know, is to understand that actually having buy-in from management and buy-in from the staff as well is a lovely combination, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it helps drive it, doesn't it?
Yeah, great. Andrew, I'm assuming you've been having to keep away the PR requests because of your story going live in the news this week. We'll come back to that one in a moment, but could you just give us a bit of context about, obviously, your business, and again, how you came to see Joel and Gavl?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Andrew Dickinson. I own and run Oakwood Homes. We're in East Kent, 3 branches currently, and we cover everything: sales, lettings, property management, commercial, land, new homes, etc. So I actually came across it through Matt. We're a member of another network together, and he did a short presentation there, and that was quickly followed up by a LinkedIn overview of some results, and they were so compelling, I jumped on it immediately. So I think I was quite an early adopter. But I concur with everything everybody says. I'm only going to repeat what they said, really, which I won't bore you with. But the one thing that I will say is, you know, tech is great, and this is revolutionary, but our business is still about people. And so just by saying, oh, we're now doing Gavl, will not fix your problem. You've got to work at it. You've got to have the right people doing the right things. It's no point utilising on a live stream, and we've branded it as live stream, and have a half-cocked approach, etc. The process has got to be good. It's got to be slick. It's got to be real as well. To be fair, you know, there are other offerings out there which are very sterile, very unimaginative. They look great, but they're not interactive. And the key for me with the success here is the interaction you can get, and you can really engage with people, and you can have a real viewing with a lot of people at the same time. So yeah, we're very, very impressed with it. Never changing back. We're working a bit harder on the sales side now because lettings is absolutely flying. But sales, we're learning. We're still more we can do on the sales side.
Cheers, Andrew. Do you remember what those compelling stats were? What was it for you that was the one that thought, you know what, I need to speak to Joel?
The one key thing that hit me was the viewing to sale ratio. And I think, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was something you'd halved it, and it was down to about 6 or 7 viewings to a physical net sale.
Yeah, I think it was 14 down to 6. I think was the number. And in a time where, let's be honest, the phones were ringing off the hook because everyone wanted to view as well. That was the thing. We probably, if we were in a normal process doing viewings like we used to back in January, probably would have been doing upwards of closer to 20, if I'm honest with you. But it took a massive chunk off there, and the staff felt safer as well. And there's lots of benefits to that, really, that they don't feel like they're being put out there at risk, and they are really showing the best people around the property that are probably the most engaged. They've already experienced that it's got a walk-through lounge into the dining room, into the kitchen. They're not going to come back to you and say, "I thought it'd have a hallway," and things like that. You just solve all of those kind of wasted 15-minute viewings. So yeah, it's been good.
So let's deal with that one now. By the way, if you're watching this on replay and this is like 2022 and we're talking about lockdown, we better not still be in it because I'll be anyway. Yeah, but that is really important, isn't it? Because I think we're Matt, you've had quite quickly when people went into the first lockdown, quite understandably, there was an immediate hiatus as everything hit the wall, and we all said, how do we possibly recover? Then we got the furloughing and confidence came back, and actually we realised there was business to be done. I think it fit into 3 very easily broken down blocks. We had, Matt, I hope you don't mind me saying this, people like yourself who rolled up their sleeves and said, you know what, I'm seeing this not as an opportunity because that's the wrong thing, but I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I'm going to go, and actually I can actually win market share in a market like this. You've then quite understandably probably got the majority of people that are just trying to get through and obviously, stay above. And then you've got the people who are just despondently head in hands. They couldn't get out of it. And to be honest, it's going to take, a long time for them to get out of it. That was the agency side of things. But we are seeing that now from the public, aren't we? And I don't think people really understand that even months after, hopefully, we're all out of lockdown and everything else, there's going to be a genuine nervousness from a good demographic of the marketplace, isn't it? Who will just prefer to have this kind of virtual experience. Do you think then, is my long way of saying it, do you think then that this is going to be the must-have kind of way of doing business with agents going forwards for that percentage of the population?
I think so, and I think as more people see it happening, I think they'll feel more comfortable with it. We've got someone who's viewing pretty much every live stream we're doing at the moment because they're getting to get an idea of what's going on in the market in our area, and they're seeing what's available for their money, and they're not local, so they're using it as their chance without travelling to actually get an understanding of what's being listed and what the prices are. That's a sales purchaser that's doing that. I kicked myself that during the first lockdown, I only had 57% of my stock had a Matterport tour on it. So I had most of my staff working from home, doing kind of digital virtual viewings like walkthroughs, and almost half of my stock didn't have a virtual tour on it. Whereas this now, we can just get out there. We can just go out there. We'll have a video afterwards. We can just send it on afterwards. It's so easy to get hold of. And I do think that this third lockdown has been for me and for Gavl, I think it's probably pushed a few more in the public domain to it because they realise that, yes, we are allowed to continue trading. Yes, we can go out and do physical viewings, but most people don't really want to. They're desperate to not waste their time if it felt like it could be a kind of a 50-50 shot. They'd rather watch a live stream and then make the decision whether it is worth coming out of the house. And fair play to them for it. It's been better for us as well, I think. So, yeah, I don't know. 2022, I'm hoping we're just in a pub talking about how good Gavl is working rather than on a web show, but who knows?
I think it's pretty. I don't know whether it's depressing or impressive that I actually know every great boozer around each of your head offices. So that's they will be getting frequented very quickly when we're out of this. Everyone else with that though, just in terms of that safety message there that. Obviously it's required at the moment. I think that's a no-brainer. But we still think that for the foreseeable that this is going to be a fact of life.
Yeah, I think so. I can't see it. I can't see it going back. I'm hoping it won't go back. I think there has been a real change in the industry, and adapting these methods. I think people they'll have to do it eventually. I think we all saw, like Matt said, we all saw the need to have videos of whether it be your vacant stock or sales stock or whatever it was in lettings. We needed those videos to operate through lockdown.
Yeah.
But this is so much more personable. You know, you get to respond to the client, and whether somebody's in the office responding to them, or whether you're doing it via when you're talking, going around doing the tour, or you're answering those questions, it's just much more personal, and it saves so much more time than somebody obviously seeing the video. They've then got to phone the office, they've then got to ask the questions. You've got to go away and get the answers to them. You know, the printouts you get afterwards just help you eliminate an awful lot of that wasted time. And I think it's good going forward. I can't see how we go back to doing what we used to do pre-COVID.
Many of you will know me from overselling a particular CRM package in years gone past. And one of the things that I was literally staggered about was the level of no-shows, cancellations, or viewings when we looked at that in there. Just as a percentage, before you started adopting this, do any of you know just off the top of your head what that would have been? What percentage of viewings were kind of no-shows?
We were quite lucky with that because in lettings we'd pre-qualify on the day of viewing, so we'd contact people before we went. So that was a problem, I think, a few years ago that we'd managed to get the disciplines in place to prevent from happening. So it was quite low. But a few years back, you would probably have about 10%.
Yeah, when we were looking at it, I don't know whether we were, well, we always used to say it was the best agents. Certainly you, Richard. Let's get that out there, Richard and Matt. Yeah, but it was, it was like 18% at one stage when we did the checks on it, which was just staggering. But anyway, anything you can do to get into that. It's interesting. We go away every year again on business with Josh Fegan and Peter Knight with some of the Aussie agents. And just their look of disbelief as you talk them through the private viewing process, and the lack of efficiencies that is just built at every stage of that. And then, okay, I know when you've got a wonderful summer's day over there, Joel, and you do your open house there, it's in your tree-lined streets, it's perfect. But as the Aussie agents point out to me, it's not perfect every day. We do have winters. It's not, and actually just being able to have this technology over there is fantastic, isn't it? So clearly as well, Joel, this is a dynamic of the Aussie market, isn't it? Are you still seeing a big take up over there with the technology?
Yeah, well, it's a dynamic of the Aussie market, and we've probably taken some of the best practices over here in terms of doing open house viewings, and also, another big thing in Australia is because they are doing open house viewings, there's very few inquiry. They just turn up. So the biggest cost base in the UK, which is staffing hours with processing inquiry and doing viewings, has pretty much been eliminated in Australia. And the whole conversation, it's an open invitation, and the conversation with the parties start at the open for inspection, which I think all the guys online can probably testify that that's what's happening through the live stream at the moment, where it's an open invitation. They're allowing people to come off the portals to the viewing. If there's any inquiries coming through, instead of spending 10, 15, 20 minutes, qualifying that inquiry, they just send them straight to the live stream the next day. So effectively the live stream, it's a quality, it's your buyer funnel. At the moment in the UK, most of the time spent staffing hours is at the top of the funnel.
Yeah.
With people who are not going to be your buyer or your renter. By going through the Gavl process, it flushes out all the time wasters, the no-shows, the people who are not your buyer and seller, and you end up with, by the end of the viewing, as Andrew said, they've been able to see what they need to see. More importantly, get those 4 or 5 little questions that are floating around in their head answered, and it's allowing them to make a decision on if they want to take the next step, which is make an offer, or I'm not interested, or if you'll even start to find there'll be some homeowners, vendors jump online, as Matt but Nicholls said there's other people from other areas they might want a valuation. And that's where that small data at the bottom end of your funnel is where you start to put your effort in with those 4 or 5 parties.
10:27. 10:27. That was the time he said data. Who had that in the big one? Brilliant. I think actually you've just reminded me though, Joel. That data point, the data point, is really important because the Aussies, as you said, we talk about it as a perfect system, but their challenges. I remember when we used to deal with Marshall White over there, they would have loads and loads of people attending those, but actually getting the information tracked and reported correctly, and then being able to nurture effectively was a massive headache for them. So of course, this is one very clear way, isn't it, of being able to make sure that you've got them in your database.
So the great thing with the Gavl process, and the guys will testify after the viewing, you'll get a full transcript of the data. So we'll have all the names and phone numbers of the people who attended, a full copy of any of the questions or chat that was asked, and also on the live stream, we've now got some request buttons where people can be prompted by the neg, thank you for coming and watching the viewing. If you'd like to, make an offer, please press that button. If you're not interested, please press that button. If you'd like a physical viewing, press that, or evaluation and press that. So effectively, time the viewing's done, sitting on their emails, these 3 people would like to make an offer. These 2 are not interested. This one wants evaluation, and these couple would like a physical viewing. So effectively a callback. It's giving the negs a real clear data summary of who to call first and where to spend most of their time.
Because I keep making myself really even more unpopular with agents by saying, look, you're not short of leads, guys. You're short with the ability to deal with the right ones, aren't you? And a tool like this again gets those hot leads to the top of the queue, so you can deal with them quickly enough, isn't it?
I'll just say, following on from what Joel's just said, I've got one open, which was the 8th of February, a lettings viewing in East Bolton. We had 10 people watching the live viewing, all with telephone numbers. I know that 5 people from that offered and wanted to go ahead to rent the property. The questions that we got on that one were, someone requests a home appraisal. Does the landlord allow kids and stairgates to be fitted? Is there a dishwasher? Does the landlord accept pets? So it's all stuff that you can deal with. It's in your face and it's there to deal with, rather than, as Joe said, 6 phone calls later, everything is dealt with in front of you.
That's really useful feedback. And Andrew, and I don't know if the rest of you can tell us, are those questions set by Gavl or are they customizable by the client?
These are free questions that they've typed in. I wasn't aware of the improvement that Joel's just mentioned because I don't use it day to day. But that's even better, if someone has said, do you want to make an offer? It's perfect. It's just moving on. He is making improvements to it all the time.
Joel, I've noticed some agents, as people actually leave the, open houses, one of the, some of them feel it's best practice to, even if they don't particularly, they're not going to proceed with an offer. I'll just ask what they feel the property was worth, because that's really useful feedback for the vendor. Do any of you guys do that, or is that something that you have the capability of dealing with within Gavl itself?
Our post live stream processes, when the live stream's finished, we're using our office email address as the email address. So as soon as the live stream finishes, within about 5 minutes, that transcript, the names and numbers all come through. And that's like our viewings list there. We phone all of those people. As Joel said, you can go for the ones that you want to focus on first, the ones that are going to make an offer. But you go through that whole list. And when people say, no, it's not for me, I'm not going to view it. Okay, that's great feedback. Can you tell me why it is that you don't think it's for you? What do you think? Ask those questions there and then. And you phone your vendor before you've kind of gone full bore with physical viewings. You've got 3 people saying they think it's 10 grand too much money. Let's just be prepared for that when we're doing physical viewings, because if someone comes in on the first week and offers 10 grand under the asking price, that might not be a bad offer. Let's not neglect it and tell them to sod off. So we react very quickly after a live stream's taken place to phone all those people and find out their initial thoughts on the property. And the vendors do like it because it kind of gives them an extra bit of information they wouldn't have seen otherwise. I guess it's like the analysis we have of Rightmove. You can have something that's getting lots of clicks on Rightmove but not getting any viewings. There is something wrong there, but you don't know what it is because you're not able to speak to any of those people. Whereas with this, because it could be neighbours viewing it, because it could be people that are kind of in the area that are thinking about moving in the coming months. You're going to get a little bit more feedback for your clients.
That's really good. And you can all have a drink of your coffee or tea or whatever you put your poison in, because we've got just a bit of feedback. It seems too coincidental that this won't be somebody you know, Andrew. Gavl's one of the best tech we have incorporated in the last 12 months. What a game changer. That better be who I think it is. Otherwise, I've just popped up a photo there that's going to be I should always think this through, but that's a great shout out, isn't it, Andrew? Do you want to just talk us through? I've asked obviously where you can give us context in terms of obviously the hungry viewing public here. Love to know the stats. Now, you were, as I mentioned, you got a very busy story on was it Property Industry Eye this week, Andrew? Just talking about the amount of deals you'd actually done. Do you want to just give some context around that?
Yeah, sure. I can give you the data for that, and also up-to-date stuff from this week. So it was actually just before Christmas, but people think it was last month. It wasn't January. It was November. But we did 26 lets, and we hadn't had any physical viewings at all. Now we do go through the process where people have the opportunity to view it before they physically move in at contract stage. That would be wrong not to do that. But I think because the quality of the presentation that we are offering, the detail that we're telling people, there's opportunity for people to go back through the rooms, look at anything else, ask any questions they want. People are really engaged. So yeah, we had 26 lets in 1 month with no viewings at all. But this week, I'll pick up on what Joel was talking about earlier. We have one property that had 34 people online. We had over 30 questions online in that viewing, and at the end of that, within 90 minutes, we had 16 tabled offers.
Wow. Yeah,
so
I mean, so Andrew, just on that, when you and somebody was just talking about a second ago as well, I think it was Andrew just saying, those comments and those questions that you can get. One of the really nice features is you can have those being public, can't you? Or you can have a private conversation as well. Is that right?
Yes, I believe so. Any questions that have come in online, you'll obviously answer those questions. So it's not something you've got the ability to respond to straight away. Difficult to do that. But you can certainly pick up on that with the individuals post the viewing. Another one this week as well. So that's 2 this week. We had 30 viewers online, 26 questions that we engaged with during the course of that viewing. So we're answering things that people want to know about. And often a question somebody asks is a very, very good one that we might have missed, but is really pertinent to what somebody wants to know. And that resulted in 21 offers tabled within 2 hours.
What would you expect in normal viewings in a normal world for those properties?
I can tell you that. I've got those stats as well. So in 2019, we were doing on average 19 viewings to a net sale. And in lettings, we were doing about 18 viewings to net let. That's 2019. That's the old school.
So my GCSE maths says that's about 50% more. Is that's right? Being able to deal with those, yeah. Correct.
So 2020, we averaged 8.1 viewings to a net sale. And in Q4, for lettings, we averaged 2 physical viewings to net let.
So essentially 50% more eyeballs, but just loads more efficient in terms of time and efficiency out there, isn't it? That's and actually thinking about it, you're dealing with all those questions there. There's a real customer service benefit if you're replying to each of those. But if we're honest, a lot of the time there will be those things that get emailed in and sometimes get missed. So you are you are seen as a forward-thinking, responsive agent as well, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a key thing as well we need to be realistic about is we've introduced some new tech at a time where the market's really busy, so that will kind of distort those figures a little. So we're not really comparing apples with apples. The market was much busier in 20 than it was in 19. So we need to be, respectful in that aspect of it too. but nonetheless, it's fantastic. It's customer service is better. Vendors love it. They've got less people traipsing through their house. Landlords love it because they can get a much quicker and faster result. Tenants who might still be in situ appreciate it because they haven't got to be disturbed for viewings. And so there's so many benefits, but the figures you can't ignore.
You certainly can't. It's great to see that, because I said jokingly at the beginning again, one more listing, the most often repeated sales tool there. But what that's led to a bit of a problem for suppliers is because that line in itself is quite cheesy. They almost veer away from ROI stats that you agents need to hear to make these informed decisions if you are going to change your business. So I think that's why it's absolute gold dust, as again another Aussie, Mr. Panos, would say, to be able to actually hear from the horse's mouth how that's working. Just on another point there, see, one of the mistakes I often fall into is that I just ask you agents about the feedback on particular suppliers. And what we're missing ultimately is, what do your clients, what does the consumer say about this? You mentioned there how the vendors and landlords were there. Are you getting kind of, I'm going to say accidental, but organic feedback that is very positive? And are any of you kind of polling automatically to find out how they actually enjoyed Gavl just as an experience? Anyone want to pick that up?
We've had some very positive feedback, both through social platforms and reviews online. I think the fact that you can circulate this now on all the platforms like Facebook and YouTube channels and things like that is a huge benefit for the business. But it's it's such a good opportunity, and the feedback has been nothing but positive. In all honesty, people you can hear when you meet somebody, you don't see that many people at the moment. When you do see them, they do mention it. They bring it up. The fact, we've seen that thing you're doing online, that online viewing thing. That's really effective. Is that something you do? And they're very curious. And curiosity is a great thing, isn't it? People will see something, they'll click on it, and they remember it because it's different, and it just gets tongues wagging, and it's a talking point, particularly at the moment where there's not much else to do and talk about, is there?
I think if you have the right people doing it, it gives people the confidence in your ability to sell their home as well. So if they are selling, their biggest asset, and they want to have someone who's going to really remember the points that were made about the stream at the bottom, never flood, all those bits, and they have comfort that they have got the right agent working for them. And I think other vendors that are probably thinking of choosing agents have probably seen them thinking, oh look, they actually answered 24 of those 26 questions. They didn't go, so I'll get back to you on that one. I'm going to have to go check with the vendor. We go into it quite prepared. We do a property information questionnaire, a bit like what the HIP was all about, but a property information questionnaire that the vendor completes for us, so that before we go out there, we have a bit of a crib sheet that we kind of research and review what the neighbours like on that side, how many kids they got that side. We know all of those kind of points, so that when the questions start coming at you, you're not kind of fumbling around and trying to think of answers. So it will hopefully, I don't know if we've had an instruction off the back of it specifically. There was, on the first weekend when I did the live streams, we did 3. A lady fed back that she'd done a virtual walkthrough with the Matterport tour, and she actually found out more in the live stream than she could have done then, because she asked me to go to the back of the house and look back at the property, and back of the garden and look back at the property. And it was those moments that kind of she felt like she was there, but safely not being there as well. So, I'm sure there will be. And your question about have we actually polled any clients? Immediately, I kind of thought we haven't really. We haven't got enough testimonials about it. We need to do more video ask them, just to say what the difference was. Did they enjoy it themselves? What was their experience? So we have got that information. We've got some stats like Andrew. I mean, it's been a game changer for us as a business, but it'd be really nice to hear what the clients like about it, without a doubt.
Well, that's that. We like to get feedback from everybody. So yeah, look, we'll happily talk to you about that as well, Matt, if you want to do it in association with Kerfuffle or whatever else there. But the reason I was asking as well is that, look, it's taking long enough in this country for people to get on the property ladder. I'm probably being unkind to the older demographic anyway, because they are obviously getting so much more tech savvy. But for people who are just getting on the property ladder, this is going to be a really important factor for them, because they are going to want the best techie tools and everything else. Lettings, because of its younger demographic, is going to be all over this anyway, isn't it? But are you seeing any kind of kickback at all from, let's say, more mature vendors? I'll take your silence as no.
No.
No, I mean genuinely, just in terms of it. I mean, the point is here, you don't have to essentially force that on them if that was the case. But I was just interested in the way my perception would be that actually people are so used now to kind of whole Zoom experience that using something like this specifically for a estate agency with Gavl would just be just an obvious no-brainer to them.
Yeah, we still get. You're always going to get the people demanding physical viewings, I think. And the procedures on the lettings have got to be slightly different. We do. It's working quite well for us at the moment in auction stock, and you're always going to get people wanting to see the physical property, because I think we did one on Friday, and there was 36 people had watched it, and we've had 8 people request physical viewings from that, which is the property needs complete refurbishment, so they're going to want to see it. But it could have been 36 people wanting to see that property.
Yeah.
So you're always going to get the people wanting to maybe do a physical viewing, and you can't really, as a business, deny them that. But what it does do is it just cuts down those numbers dramatically, and those touch points, particularly at the moment, touch points with the public and the wasted time. So, yeah, it's definitely working.
Would you? Is it too early to say? But would you need more staff if you didn't have Gavl?
Yeah, we've grown. I mean, we're building our lettings department. We, as a result of the first lockdown, we restructured based on the kind of the level of work we were doing. We restructured and took a position away, and actually we got busier now, but we haven't had to add someone back in. So for me, the efficiency has meant that we've not had to go and bolt extra stuff on. And actually, it's helped us to grow our market share in a part of the market that's a real part of my industry. It's a real focus for me. I was an out-and-out salesperson, so I've only ever known sales, land and new homes. Those are my bits. But this has been a game changer for us in lettings, but without having to add in. We used to have 4 people for less stock, for less properties being managed. We've now got 3 people, and the one guy that does all the viewings, does all the live streams for us, and then therefore does the application process, and therefore then does the viewings. It's easy and it's a better control because you've got 3 different people doing different properties. It's a lot more streamlined. So I don't know if we need to add more staff on for Saturdays. I think we've been able to possibly identify that if we have one person, and there's a chap that's out doing a live stream for us at 11:30 today, chuck him under the bus. There's one doing 11:30 today who's not been with us too long actually, but I have seen within him from onboarding and the viewings that he's undertaken and a couple of live streams he's done, that he's got a really good personality. He had a couple of applicants coming on to him in a property the other day, which I won't talk about, but he's got a very, very good personality. He's a bit of a cheeky chappy, and I think he would almost be able to build up his own profile within the business of people who know about him. So if he turns up to do a physical viewing with them, they went, oh, Sam, you're the guy that was on the live. It's going to build probably a bit of a following, I think. So,
and that is a trend, isn't it? So the Aussie market is famous for actually there's more focus on the individual, and obviously you have to sit in within the company brand on there. It's much more obviously the company brand here, but we are definitely seeing that going the other way, aren't we? And actually, if you do find a niche for yourself, I avoided saying niche there, but that's the Americans, isn't it? But if you can find and develop that, you really have the ability to help the business as a whole, don't you?
Yeah, without doubt, and it's good for him. It's good for his confidence that he's been an agent for a company before us, so he's not come to us like fresh faced and never done it before. But he is getting some great questions. He's responding to them on the point, and it's obviously for him and his confidence. It's boosting him. I think, as probably some of the other directors have said, they've at the beginning the staff are nervous. They don't know what to expect or how it's going to kind of take. But once the first one's finished, it doesn't feel so bad. Actually, it gets quite exciting. So you just want to make sure you know everything about the property and make sure you demonstrate that on the appointment.
Rather than doing it just off the cuff, taking a chance. The way of doing things.
Here's the bathroom. You walk into an airing cupboard. Yeah, it's those moments you want to avoid.
Well, you just reminded me there, Matt. Actually, what I will come back to you all just before the end is say to help that process. What would be one bit of advice in terms of helping the companies and staff members, get on board and help themselves with Gavl if they were going to go down this route? So I'll come back to you at the end with that. But I'm going to ask an immediate question now of anyone who wants to jump in is, obviously we're going to be coming out of lockdown, and so the necessity to have virtual viewings as a must-have might recede. But where do you think this is going to go? Do you think? I think many of you said you firmly see this as being absolutely crucial to your business going forwards. Do you think that's going to be the case?
I don't think that people are going to want to go back to the old way. Why would you? There's just so many reasons to want to use live stream from an end user's point of view. You know, applicants, whether that's buyers or tenants, it's so much easier. We've got people that wouldn't have to take time out of work to do viewings when we were trying to schedule it. They just jump on. You know, they take 2 minutes out of work, 5 minutes, 10, 15 minutes out of work. They can see what they want. We're in a lifestyle now of immediacy, and you know, you can get your food delivered in 5 minutes. You can book a flight if ever you can fly anymore. You can get stuff off of Amazon and other places, you know, and we're antiquated. The industry is. I've been doing it for 3 decades plus, and we're still have been doing similar stuff that I was doing 30 years ago. It's out of date, and we've got to modernise it. And the agents that don't change will get left behind. There's absolutely no doubt about that in my mind. So I think as we come out of lockdown, which hopefully we can see some light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully it's not a train, we are geared up for exactly this format, and it's not going to change. We're going to improve, and hopefully, Joel, if you're prepared, we'll start throwing new ideas at you, changes, things we can do to make it even better, because we've got a few ideas with that, and we're already liaising on it. But why would it change? It's only going to get better, I'm sure.
But the lovely thing there is loads of techies that come along promising disruption, and it's all batshit mental, isn't it? But as you said, whilst this is a marked change and it's an improvement, it's an evolution of the existing system, isn't it? It's doing what technology, when it's done right, is meant to be about. It's delivering a better customer experience, and it's making you more efficient. So why would you not be on board? I'm selling to the converted here, so it's a bit daft, isn't it? But, yeah.
I think for us, we're going to do a bit like Richard says. When you bring in a process like this and it's different, as long as there is a process that people follow, then it'll work. But we are working very hard to make sure that as the Australians would call it, our set to sell meetings are kind of set out. So we actually have a structure that means that we will only list all of our stock on 1 day a week, which means that our live streams can all therefore take place 2 days after that's listed on the portals. You know, on Thursday, you can have someone out going to do 10 different live streams back to back. But we're going to, rather than list everything that came on yesterday to get the contract, get the photos, get all that stuff and just rush them all on each and every other day, we're going to bring it in so that we have 1 day that all of our stock goes live each week. People will come to expect then to go onto portals if they want to see the stock go live from our company. They'll be in touch with us knowing that we would have told people about it before. So we'll probably do a pre-launch live stream to any of our applicants who are lucky enough to be on our database and are engaging with us. We'll then do a launch on a day, say it's Tuesday. I think that's the one that the managers chose. So say it's Tuesday, maybe live stream on Thursday, which will be the one that portal inquiries will get to see and social media inquiries will get to see. And then we should have a busy day of proper viewings on Saturday. And that's for me as a company. I'm into a 3rd location now. I've got 2 administrators stretched doing new homes at the same time. It will be for everyone just a very, very clean way that if it wasn't ready by Tuesday, it ain't going live to the following Tuesday. But we can start, do the pre-launch live stream and do it that way. So
rather than it being ad hoc, essentially, you're getting that. So what to use the 90 phrase, you've ripped off and duplicated that best practice that the Aussies have. So in realestate.com, their version of Rightmove, you can literally go see Saturdays and Sundays. There are obviously all of the viewings, aren't there?
Yeah. It's bringing Gavl to the UK was a bit of a step in the right direction, and I think this will, again, for us, it will be a bit of a changer, but I think it will be a very useful way. And then hopefully from the team's point of view, they know what happens on each day. There won't be any kind of come in and just see what happens in the diary. It'll all be nicely set up. So, and then as the consumers locally start to realise that we haven't got dominant market share in all areas, but we've got a good presence, I think as consumers start to realise that's what we do, they'll want to register because they don't want to see it on Tuesday because they know everyone else is seeing it on Tuesday. They want to register before to get their chance to view it before. So
So I love what you just said there as well, and it'd be interesting to get everyone's view on this. Is that pre-launch element where you're getting almost the concept of psychology around exclusivity and scarcity, isn't it? So you're going to start nurturing them then, by the sounds of it, Matt, in terms of, look, get on this list. You'll be the first to get access. So obviously for investors, that's just gold dust, isn't it? And really build that kind of database up to nurture that side of things.
I think in all parts of the country, we're probably feeling at the moment the market's kind of, I won't say stalled, but there's just no stock coming on. So buyers are squabbling over properties. So if you've got an emotional buyer, not just investors, if you've got an emotional buyer who's got a buyer in tow, needs to find something, they should be registered and calling you almost every day. And if you could give them the opportunity, right, this is the first time you get to see it, it would be nice to list a few onto the portal saying, sorry, it's already sold, sold to our database, sold to pre-launch or something like that. So yeah, it won't just be the investors. I think a lot of locals that are thinking of buying within this area will be wanting to get registered and get themselves on the list.
So emotional buyers, you've met the missus then. She's really emotional.
She was on a couple of the live streams, Welly. You might be moving down to Worcester.
Can I ask that question just then to kick off with you, Andrew, if that's all right? What advice would you give to people to help the staff get on board with this in the quickest possible way? Any useful tips?
Are you talking to me? And which Andrew?
Oh, God, yeah.
I think
if you want to go to Chris Watkins. For everything else, come to me.
I think the best advice is put yourself under a bus, as Matt's just said. Do the first one yourself. Show them how to do it. That's what Matt said to me, and that's what I did. Yeah. And I think do some preparation. Obviously, before you go, have a route in your head. On that one, I had something like 15 viewers and an offer before I got back to the office, so that told me I was doing the right thing. But I think the most important thing is to have a process so that they understand what they have to do. If you leave it to them, they'll end up going back to doing physical viewings. I think if you have a process and set it down for them, and as Matt said again, after the first one, they gain in confidence because they realise what a good tool it is and how much it's going to help them.
Yeah. Excellent. To the other Andrew, because I'm nothing if not simple. What about yourself? What advice would you give to anyone else thinking about this?
Don't give up too early.
Okay.
There's a tendency, I think, with the team to feel if the engagement isn't there straight away that things don't work, and just don't give up on it. Just keep persisting. Make sure you've got a structure. Make sure it's well organised. It's very clear what the expectations are from the team. But don't get despondent. Keep pressing on. We had a low take up in the initial first few weeks, and it would have been very easy for us to say, well, that's no good. In the bin, it doesn't work. But it's what we've got to understand. It's a culture change for a lot of people, not just our staff, but also if you're introducing it into your town and no one else is doing it, you're either a pioneer or you're considered a failure. Really, for us, it was great. One of our competitors has lost market share because of it to us, and they're now signed up. Unfortunately, we can't take post exclusivity. Thanks for that, Joel. But clearly it's working. So, but we got the march on that, and we're better at it anyway.
That was a fantastic bitch slap done in a very polite way. Richard, what about yourself? Any nice tips you can help us out with?
I think Andrew mentioned try and do the first couple yourself. We everybody who's done one, I've asked them to do a dummy run. Effectively, you don't market this thing, nobody will watch it.
Yeah.
We find an empty property, we'll go to that empty property, get the staff in the office to log onto it and fire the questions at us just to get people feeling a little bit more comfortable. I probably can't repeat most of the questions that I got asked when I was doing my first one, but it does make you feel a little bit more comfortable. It also gives you an understanding of how short these can actually be. They don't take a huge amount of time. You'd be surprised when you're walking around a house and you're describing a room, how quickly you're in the next room, then you're on the first floor into the garden.
Sorry, just to jump in there, I hadn't thought about that, but that stops a bit of the natural fluff that goes on if you're with somebody, almost like the natural small talk that has to happen. So you're able to really concentrate on making even that element more which is what people want these days, isn't it? Really, just get straight.
Yeah, you're going to get people saying, "Will you show me the boiler? Can you just, show me the understairs cupboard or whatever it is?" But it is surprising how quickly you can get around a property. And I think doing that dummy run with, you haven't got the pressure of the general public watching you. It's just the idiots in the office watching you and firing those questions. Then it does make you slightly more at ease when you go out and do your first live one. So that certainly helped with our staff, because people have, rightly or wrongly, people are always very nervous about putting themselves on camera, particularly on an open public forum. Even when they can't, I keep saying to them, I said, they're not seeing your face. The camera's the other way. They're seeing the property.
Yeah.
The fact that they're speaking, I don't like the sound of my voice, there's always something they'll put in the way to stop it. So do a couple dummy runs, make yourself at ease, and then send them out on the way.
I'm always fascinated whenever I've done my propaganda videos for talking to the agents, and literally before, it's like shrinking violence. Oh, I hate going on camera. I'm useless to this. Lights, camera, action. You all turn into video horse. It's like, I'm not being funny. Once you get past that natural thing, this is your job. This is what you do well, isn't it? And I know a lot of people are nervous with the camera, but actually, as Andrew Dickinson just mentioned there, keep at it, and you get beyond that discomfort zone very, very quickly, don't you?
Yeah. I think everyone overcomes it eventually.
I like the fact you called your staff the idiots in the office as well. I'll quite happily. I'll be a character witness at one of the tribunals. But anyway, thank you for the honesty. Okay, what are we missing, guys? What demonstrable benefits are we? Joel, I'll come back to Joel for a closing statement, just to see. Obviously, hopefully, he started welling up all the nice things you've been saying. But anything else that we're missing here that people need to know about the way you're using it, or indeed any of the effects you're getting, any of the benefits?
Just quickly from me, because I've got a few stats here. We've seen a rough guesstimate. I think we're at about 2.4% market share increase, and I reckon we've dropped our costs by about 4.4%. So that's a big advantage. We're going to save money, and we're going to be better at what we do. Andrew,
don't say that out loud. He's going to put your prices up. You know what that well-known portal would do. Don't give all this. Don't give all the good stuff away. Hold somebody.
It's going to save money for people, and we're in terms of running your business, it's got to be an advantage. Whether that will change or not, we'll see. And obviously, if he puts his prices up, we'll all leave.
Yeah, thank you for being very honest there. And I mean, again, it's laziest thing ever, but it's just a complete no-brainer for what is a very. And Joel, just give us just an overview of the commercial model again, in terms of for people who don't know.
Well, the commercial, it's just a monthly subscription. So, and being only new to the market, it's a relatively cheap subscription. There's no lock-in contracts and so on. So it's effectively a digital handshake arrangement, I guess, that all these gentlemen jumped on board saying, "Yep, we'll give it a go for a few months, and if it works, we'll keep going, and if it doesn't work, we will just shake hands." But I guess the biggest thing when assessing a new technology, we've all got prop tech fatigue. We've got tech fatigue in every part of our life, and we all can get caught up with the new shiny toy and so on and race out and go, "Yep, I'll buy that," and 2 weeks later, oh, it doesn't work. Yeah. The thing with technology is you have to know in your own head what problem you're solving. And if you as a business owner don't know what problem you're solving, then don't talk to a software company. So, I think it's been pretty clear today, all these gentlemen knew exactly what the problem they were that needed solving. But then more importantly, it's one thing knowing what the problem is. The other thing is, how are you going to measure success? Yeah. And there's been that many stats, and I think Andrew just nailed it on the head. He's got 3 or 4 stats that they use in terms of measuring success. Increased market share by 2.5%. Decreased fixed costs by 5%. Reduced viewings in lettings from 18 to 1 down to 2 to 1. Reduced viewings in sales, which I think was 19 to 1 down to 8 to 1. So they've got some clear metrics in terms of how to measure whether this software that they're purchasing has solved that initial problem. So you've got to be really clear, I guess, for all the people who are online going, do we need Gavl? Do we need this software or that software? Start to break it down and go, what's the problem and how am I going to measure the solution?
I know you're biased, Joel, but as well, now's the time to talk to you about this, isn't it? Before we again come out of lockdown and we're all busy running around all over the place, get it in, be able to actually use the technology whilst you've got, I'm not being funny, but nothing else. You've got no other opportunities to do anything, have you? So I think we've got a deal on our landing page. How, obviously, everyone go have a look at Gavl on the landing page on Kerfuffle. Always good to see feedback like the good people here. And everything else. I think we have got a deal, haven't we, Joel?
Yeah, it's £100 a month per office. It's unlimited properties, unlimited live streams. So I think, if you can get at the stage where you've been able to reduce one staff member and increase market share, I think, £100 a month pays for itself, probably within the first week.
I always equate it back to food, obviously, and that's like an all-you-can-eat offer, isn't it? You're not paying the added extras. You can have as much as you can do. Okay, thank you, Joel. I think it's great, the technology you've obviously brought over here. Thank you. I was going to tug my fork and say thank you for thinking of us for it there. Or thanks to Matt for going and getting it. But everybody else, I just wanted to say thank you very much on that. It's been really useful getting your feedback. If anyone else hasn't got any other comments on that, I think we'll leave it there if that's okay.
That's brilliant.
Great. Thanks a lot, guys.
To Andrews, Richard, Matt, and Joel, thank you very much. You have a great weekend.
Cheers.
And you.
Thanks a lot, guys.